Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Garage Biljon. It's been quite some time since my last video. I've been quite busy at work and with renovations to my home, but today I'm finally starting to pick up the work on the Safari again. So in the last video I said I was going to do the clutch. The first job for today is taking off the exhaust. As you can see, I already have a new back section lying here on the floor. I ordered this like 4 months ago already because I knew I had a hole in the back silencer. What I'm going to do today is I'm just going to remove the exhaust. The reason I'm doing this today is because, let me show you. I have a skip outside the door. So if I want to take all this metal away without me paying for it extra, then that's what I'm going to do today. We're going to take the exhaust off. I'll probably take it off mid-silencer, which is just behind the engine there, and throw all of that stuff in the skip as well. And then I might have to order a new central silencer, but we'll see how things go. So join me underneath the car as we start taking it apart. All right, so the new exhaust section I have is this little silencer there, the pipe and the back box. But this is a slip fit, so I'm pretty sure this is going to give me a lot of grief. So I'm going to remove this from the car, and the easiest spot to do that is here because this is with 3 bolts. I might order a new mid silencer, or I might be able to disconnect the two over there and just do the slip fit. We'll see how we go, but let's start with removing this guy. Alright, so we've got the 3 screws loose on the middle muffler, and now I'm going to move to the back and get that one loose, and then there's only one more bracket on the rear silencer that we have to do, and then we should be able to pull the whole exhaust off. And here she lies in a final resting place, together with the old suspension. I really tried getting this slip fit off. As you can see, I managed to move it about 1/2 centimeter. But in moving it that 1/2 centimeter, I destroyed a rubber mallet. So rubber mallets are more expensive than replacing the silencer. And this silencer was buzzing anyway. So I guess we'll be ordering a new silencer. Alright, so a couple of weeks have passed since I took the exhaust from under the car. I've already shown you the new exhaust that I got for the back. This is supposed to be a sport exhaust. We'll see how that goes. But I've ordered a new central muffler. This was about, I think, 55 euros, so it wasn't too bad. I've also managed to find a used heat shield that goes on top of the exhaust manifold. The one on my car is completely rotten. These are the new gearbox mounts. I've got some bolts here that help me bolt it up. I've got a new rear main seal. I don't know if I'll need it, so I will not be replacing it if it's dry, but I bought it anyway. I have a pressure plate, I have a clutch plate, I have a throwout bearing, and I have a new clutch cable. For some reason I've misplaced my pilot bearing, which I know I have somewhere. Oh yeah, I also have the sleeve, and I've got some exhaust space to help me with the slide fitting that I have on those two over there. And then lastly, I have my trusty manuals to help me guide me through the clutch process. This one is from Climber, which is really good. It's basically a copy of the Porsche factory manual, so it's always 100% accurate. And over here I've got my Haynes manual for the 924, it's upside down. That's not a good thing. So this is the Haynes manual, and I've owned this for close on 30 years now. I bought this when I bought my first 94. So I like the combination of the Climber and the Haynes, and the reason is because Haynes sometimes just gives you a little bit of a shortcut as to how you can do things, whereas Climber tells you the correct way to do things. So the combination between the two often helps me to find shortcuts or to verify that maybe my thinking is correct. So without further ado, I'll be heading under there at the first step, which is taking off the exhaust manifold so that I can pull the rest of the drivetrain back. Alright, so as you can see, the exhaust from here going back is already gone. Then you have this collector, and it's tightened up there with 5 nuts and bolts. The reason we have to take it off is because this is the bell housing, and I need to get this out of the way so that I can open up the bell housing and drop the clutch. Without the exhaust away, there's just not enough room here to do the clutch. So first things first, we are going to put some penetrating oil on these nuts and then see if we can break them loose. Alright, so that didn't go too badly actually. This came loose without much force. So, as you can see, the previous owner had a bottle of silver spray paint, which he didn't know what to do with. So he sprayed a lot of stuff under the car with that paint, which is not a good thing. So, just because it's annoying me, I am actually going to take out this brace as well. And I'm going to just respray it, because honestly, this is the worst spray job I have seen in a very long time. And as I'm going to be putting it back, I'm going to be noticing it. It's going to annoy me. So this brace is coming out and it's getting a new coat of something else. Alright, so now that I have the exhaust and the heat shields and the brace loose, the next thing for me to do is disconnect the shift lever. For that I need to basically reverse the work I did a couple of videos ago, and that's take out the lever, disconnect the shaft, and once that's done, I am free to move the torque tube back from the bell housing. Now, this shaft is now free to move with the torque tube. My next job is to loosen the gearbox mounts at the back, and then also loosen the drive shaft from the bell housing at the front. And then I should be able to move this back far enough for me to remove the bell housing and to get the clutch out. Alright, so I was a little too enthusiastic and I didn't capture this on video, but after I disconnected the gear lever in the car, I disconnected the clutch cable, for which you saw I have a new one. Now, the trick is that the clutch cable sits on this thing here. And if I put my hand down there, you can see there's no space. So this is a tool I've made yonks ago. It's a 19mm spanner that I just sawed off, and this allows me to work in confined spaces. You will not believe in how many places on a Porsche you need this little spanner. So I would suggest you make one, but basically what you need to do is you just need to slacken off this adjuster screw. Once it's loose, you can pop the cable out. It's really not a big thing, and this little thing here just pulls on an arm. If I can point it out to you, that is, so right there, so that is the clutch arm, and up here where my finger is, this is where the clutch cable goes in, and you can see the arm straight down below it, that arm. So the clutch cable holds here, pulls that arm, disengages the clutch, and it comes into the bulkhead right here on top of where the pedal box sits. So not a difficult job. I've got a new cable. This cable is actually in very good nick. One of the things I've noticed that was wrong with this is that this was all disconnected down there, which was it's not the way it should be. So only this guy was holding tension onto the cable. Alright, so now that the clutch cable is disengaged, we have the gear lever disengaged and removed from the torque tube, and I have the exhaust from under the car removed. The next job really is going towards the back and working on the gearbox. Now, the Haynes manual says you can slide the gearbox back and you'll then create enough room for you to actually change the clutch. My experience is that it's very, very difficult, and it's very constrictive to work in this way. And also, when I'm going to drop the rear suspension to lift the ride height, the gearbox needs to be gone anyway. So what I'll be doing is I'll be removing the gearbox instead of just sliding it back. That will allow me to do a couple of things. One is to clean the gearbox, because it's again full of that silver junky paint. And secondly, it will allow me to just spray the underside of the body on that side, because I have seen quite a bit of rust in there. So I would like to neutralize it, and then I will give it a good coating of some hammerite or whatever will work best there. So in order for me to remove the gearbox, as you can see, this is not the best solution. Normally you'd have a gearbox jack that'll help you along. I have bought this, which is a motorcycle lift, and I have some planks under the workbench over there. So I'll put a plank across it, and I should be able to then lift the gearbox just enough for me to loosen it and slide it out from under the car. All right, so we are at the back of the car, and you can see the gearbox lying over here. And this is why I said you can't always trust Haynes, because Haynes says that you can move this transmission backwards and get to the bell housing. As you can see here, I can barely fit a finger in between the spare wheel well and the gearbox. So there's no way that you can slide this gearbox back and get access to the bell housing at the front there. So that is the reason I am going to take this gearbox out of the car. And the first thing I need to do is remove the bracket that holds on the exhaust. And as you can see, the previous owner also managed to spray this heat shield a lovely silver. That's not going to stay this way. So I've got the motorcycle lift under the gearbox now. Let's see if this is going to do the job. I really hope so. Right, she's now on. I haven't been filming the work I've been doing because it's extremely tight quarters. But up here you see the last bolt that I think this transmission is hanging on with. As you can see, it's on my trolley jack here. I've added another plank to just give me that extra 2 centimeters of movement so that I can just lift it a little bit. I've loosened the 4 bolts that is holding the gearbox to the bell housing on the torque tube. I have backed off the sleeve that holds the 2 shafts together. So in theory, once I get this guy loose, we should be able to pull this gearbox out. Wish me luck. Alright guys, so gearbox is off. It's over there under the workbench for now. It'll stay there probably for a couple of weeks. So this is where I'm going to end this video. I'm continuing to work, but this video is already quite long. So part 2 of doing the clutch will be appearing, I think, after part 2 of doing the suspension. Yeah, I think that's about right. So in the next video, we'll be replacing the clutch, maybe the rear main seal. And then once that is done, we will actually start working on the suspension again, because I'm not going to put this gearbox back until we have lifted the rear suspension. Thank you for sticking around and following my adventure. So if you like what you see and you enjoy my videos and you enjoy my channel, please consider subscribing. So if you like what you see and you like this project and you like my channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon. This way you'll be notified as soon as my next episode is online. And I promise this time it won't take as long as it's taken for this video to come out. Until next time, goodbye.